Hi, I'm Seth Forwood, Vice President of Programs for Fort Collins Rescue Mission here in Northern Colorado. And I am joined by my Mayor of Fort Collins, Jeni Arndt. Thanks for joining us, Jeni.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, during this conversation, maybe we can just kick it off with a question that maybe is on a lot of people's minds in Fort Collins. Like, can you talk about one thing you wish the community knew about people experiencing homelessness that might be misunderstood?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think everyone has a picture of what homelessness looks like that they've developed over time. Maybe negative experiences, maybe what is visible out on the streets. But the biggest misconception is that the guests that come to Fort Collins Rescue Mission, and I would say people who are unhoused in our community, don't fit any kind of particular pattern. And what I mean by that is we see that we have guests who are experiencing homelessness and are holding down jobs. We have guests who are experiencing homelessness and who are maintaining sobriety even though they struggled with addiction in the past. We have guests who never thought they would be homeless, but it's just through the circumstances of life that they find beyond their imagination that this is where they are at in life. And so that is probably the biggest misconception, is that people who are homeless don't all become homeless because of one thing,
right? Or even
permanently,
right.
Yes. Or that they've been on the streets since they were teens or something like that.
Would you say the vast majority it's a temporary station life, no matter how long that temporary lasts?
Yeah, we distinguish between chronic homelessness and situational homelessness.
That makes sense.
And I would say that at the very least it's a 50-50 split. And really, it's resources that make the difference between somebody who's situationally homeless and chronically homeless. And so communities really can choose if they want to have more chronically homeless people in their community, or if it's just a situational thing. And that all depends on the community gathering around those folks and finding solutions.
Right, and zero communities would say we want to have more homeless.
Yeah, right.
But some communities would make decisions that lead to that sort of accidentally.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I think that is also fueled by those misguided assumptions about what causes homelessness and why people become homeless. You know, if, let's say, I'll just kind of name it. I had a conversation in another city just a couple of weeks ago, and a man made a statement that people who experience homelessness are just addicts who want to use the system in order to, support their drug habit.
That's so painful to hear that, isn't it?
Well, and it's just not accurate whatsoever, and it's a real stigma that's attached to people that is completely unfair to the real life human beings that we both have had experience serving and engaging with and hearing their stories.
Yes.
And that is not the case. But
it is a visible.
That's right.
If someone who's not involved or hasn't had a family member experience homelessness, that is like an unfortunate visibility point. Yeah.
And I guess it's just easy also to kind of portray everyone in that situation as somebody who has chosen that for their life.
It's like the othering as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's someone who experiences homelessness in my husband's family, and we'd always heard of this uncle, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to a wedding, and there was a man that we didn't recognize, and I said, Channing, that's the uncle.
Yeah.
And he goes, and it was him. And it was one of his nephew's marriages, and he came. He lives in Phoenix, and he came, and he's dressed up and everything, and we talked to him for a long time. So what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going back to Phoenix, right? So it's when you realize it's in your family and your extended friends, people it becomes a lot less It's that one person I encountered that one time, right?
Yep. And when it's personal, you admit that there's more nuance and story
Way more.
to people's situations, right?
You know what I realized as an adult, growing up here and going to Poudre High, I stay in touch with a lot of those, and there were quite a few students who were homeless
Yeah.
when I was at Poudre, like my friends,
Yeah.
colleagues, and I just didn't know.
Yep.
One gal in particular said, Jenny, what you didn't know was I couch surfed my entire way through high school.
Wow.
I said, I had no idea.
Wow.
She said I had to keep hiding it, but both her parents left her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So then you realize the face of homelessness can just really be any
Yeah.
circumstance or age
Yep.
or, relationship you have too.
Yeah. And one common theme I have found with people that are experiencing homelessness is that more than a financial poverty, there's a relational poverty.
Exactly.
And that can happen through a lot of different things. Oftentimes, I mean, I've spoken with countless guests at our shelter who it was not their choice, right? It could be mental illness, or it could be abandonment. The
Yes.
foster system is so difficult to navigate, and people age out of the foster system and become homeless all the time. And that's not their choice,
No.
But they all find themselves kind of on the outside of society. And after a while, kind of surrendering to that outsider mentality, I think is a way of coping with the experience of being ignored on the streets, right? Being around people, but always kind of shunned because you look different from what everyone else looks like on the streets. And that's the real tragedy is these people have gifts to give a community, right?
Of course they do.
And they just need people to come alongside them and believe that they can give those gifts again.
Well, last time I was at the mission for the dinner of the one guy, he had a job and he was flying to Alaska to fish for the season.
That's right.
And he said, well, the first amount of money, I'm going to come back here and make a big donation here, right? And everybody's clapping and cheering. And there were quite a few people on their way to jobs and different things. It always hurts my heart because I know how wealthy our country is.
Right.
And we also live in a wealthy city, in a wealthy state, in a wealthy country. And it is a mystery to me how we've developed our social systems that sometimes we don't care or take care. Take care, but then also this relational piece is like a mystery to me. How are we so fantastically independent that some people's relational network or backstop is so thin?
Yeah, and it's fragile and it gets broken, and then those people are just kind of cut loose from the community, right? Yeah. Well, and it highlights also that no matter where you are in a community, you have the network that supports you.
Right.
And I like how you frame it as independence, because it also can be fragmentation. Our networks can be kind of siloed from all the other networks in a city.
100%.
Even a city is, as big as Fort Collins.
Yeah, we're sort of we have that in us, right? And it doesn't. But that's a luxury as well, I would say, and a sign of a wealthy society is when we have the luxury to, I'm going to go out on my own. Well, no one's ever really gone out on their own, right?
That's right.
I had good health care, I had a nice family, all this, right? That's not going it on my own, right? That's the advantage of growing up with those advantages that then you can so I always wonder about that.
It's been one of the great gifts of working with people experiencing homelessness is you recognize if you're open to if you're opening your heart to their stories. I've learned to recognize that if I didn't have the parents I had, or the friends, or all the other connections that I was gifted I didn't forge those myself, you know?
Literally gifted. It was a gift. Yeah,
That's
right?
right.
Good health care, good schools.
Yep.
You know, right.
That
right.
I could have been in that same situation.
We all
right?
could be. That's
all
the
could be.
other piece of the empathy that's missing, I
Yes.
think, right?
Yeah.
There before, the grace of God go
That's
we.
right.
I mean, really, it is a remarkable thing. That's why the work you do is so important in our town. You're part of the building blocks of the fabric of our community.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a real thing. How do you find it working in Fort Collins?
Fort Collins is, well, let me say, I don't have a ton of experience outside of Fort Collins, but I can say
Yes.
that Fort Collins has a uniquely collaborative nonprofit sector, I think, where part of it was forged out of COVID, where we all had to come together to figure out what we were going to do. But nonprofits, especially especially in the realm of homelessness and housing, they talk to each other, they collaborate. They're open and sharing rather than competitive.
Closed and competitive.
And closed, yeah.
Yeah.
But Fort Collins also has a great infrastructure for addressing the needs of Fort Collins. Like, one of the highlights of my career was working on the homelessness advisory committee.
Oh, great.
That was interrupted by COVID and then started back up. But that was a group of diverse community members, businesses,
Right.
business owners.
I was going to bring up the business community, but
community members, nonprofits. It wasn't just people that served the homeless that were on that committee. It was a cross-section of the society. And they tackled the issue of what are the priorities and how are we going to fill those priorities. And because it was so unilateral in collecting those members, as we're on the cusp of building that center,
the outcome of that,
which was the whole point of that committee, there's never a capital campaign conversation where I don't mention the Homelessness Advisory Committee, right? Because it set up everything. The city led the way. They didn't own it, they didn't say we're going to solve it, but they led the conversation and they gathered a diverse group of people to have that conversation really fully.
Right.
And I think that's how good cities work.
Build a community, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the city government would be nothing without its people. Right?
Yeah.
That's a famous city quote. But tell me more about how the businesses came down to assist some of the issues that they were experiencing around the mission.
Yeah.
And how they came together to help solve that and work with you. I love this story.
Yeah, this was great because it was in the heart of COVID. We had moved to the warehouse that the food bank had open.
Okay.
That was like 1.5 miles north of our original site. But we were only there for a winter to socially distance 150
Amazing.
people. Yeah. Right. That went well, but as we're moving back, we had restaurants right across the street. We had a community of neighbors that were just down the street from us, and they were all just worried about the stay-at-home order had just lifted, and they were just getting their feet underneath them as businesses and as community members who wanted to go out. They were very worried about us operating a shelter right next door to them.
In the heart of Old Town.
That's right. Yeah, a block away from the square.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And so, again, led by the city, Kyle Stannert, assistant city manager back in the day, convened a group that had the police involved, and Outreach Fort Collins, our local homelessness outreach nonprofit, and myself and these concerned community members, and really started off on the exact right foot, which is let's just listen to each other and let's just try to understand what the experiences are.
I love it.
And I mean, I don't know if those restaurateurs were unique in having extra compassionate hearts, I now know them, and they do have that quality. But I think the conversation was such that it set it up for success. And we tweaked a little bit. I listened to their experiences. And we were able to tweak just slightly some of our operations.
Sure.
We got money from the city in order to expand our operations and be 24/7.
That's awesome.
And that made a huge difference because it meant that more men were inside getting their needs met with us rather than right around us in the community.
First and foremost, it helped the people who need the services.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's our first priority.
That was our first priority,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it had the impact of
being a benefit to our neighbors.
Helping some of the neighbors' concerns, like outside smoking or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's exactly right. And really finding a win-win that is a benefit for neighbors, businesses, a benefit for people experiencing homelessness. How rare is that? But it is absolutely possible, right?
When people come to me concerned about the new shelter and say the normal things that people concern about, right?
Yeah.
I said, well, where's our shelter now?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I said, well, it's in the heart of Old Town.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Where's our overflow or our winter, our cold shelter? I don't know.
Yeah.
I go, right. Because they don't know, or they might kind of know where the mission is.
Yeah.
But I always find, I use that as a real life example of, do you have the behaviors you're talking about? Are you witnessing those? And they're like, oh, no. I go, I'm 100% sure that your new place is going to, first and foremost, help more people, but help them in a kind, compassionate, humane way. Not that you're not now, but in an improved way.
Yeah.
And if there are impacts in the neighborhood, I know we can tackle those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I once stayed in New York, not on my dime, but as a guest of somebody that wanted me there for a city-related event.
Oh, yeah.
At a very fancy hotel. And when I came out, I was on Fifth Avenue. I turned right, and the men's mission was right next door. These things are not fundamentally incompatible.
Yeah.
And I, for one, I know I might not be the majority voice, I like it because it's part of our community, and it's just like when I see a hospital or a fire station. It's how we take care of each other in a civilized society. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel compassionate for the people who need those services, but it makes me feel good that we have them.
Yeah.
Right? I never rejoice when I hear a fire engine.
Right.
But it brings out a feeling of gratitude that we have a fire engine going to help someone.
I very much appreciate that. More and more I feel like shelter services, homeless resources need to be coupled and brought right alongside the emergency resources of police and fire departments, right?
Yes.
Like you need these in order to address the most pressing issues of a community.
Most pressing needs of the people in your community, right?
Yeah.
So it's a humanitarian, we have the public safety issue, we have a humanitarian, we have, it feels right to me.
Yeah. And I appreciate also, I mention all the time, it is the thing that I lead back to in all of my community conversations is come stop by where we're at right now.
Exactly.
Just walk down the street and experience for yourself how it feels to walk right next to a rescue mission where there are 60 plus men inside, and just what do you notice?
Or volunteer and go inside.
Even better.
I mean,
even better, yes.
I mean, you'll see some, you'll see the community there. The way you see community in a hospital or community in other places where we serve people.
It's just the same as seeing a community in any other part of town.
Correct.
I would say.
Correct.
Yeah. There might be higher needs in the men that we serve, but they're sacred and they're no less deserving of being surrounded by people that care for them. Creating
that social network that they desperately need.
And that's the whole point, right? Once they get connected and once they belong, then I think that they can start to imagine what it would be like to belong to the greater part of the community, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing I always recommend people do when they experience somebody with homelessness on the street is, if you're comfortable, just make eye contact with them.
Correct. Say hello.
Just say hi.
Right.
It doesn't have to be an in-depth conversation.
No.
But just say hi. There's a philosopher named Simone Weil, a French philosopher. She sounds very French.
Okay.
But she said, if you want to become invisible, there's no surer way than to become poor.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it's something people want to avoid.
It causes a discomfort in people.
Yeah.
I always, to be seen is to be connected, right? Right? That whole eye contact thing is such a real thing.
Yeah.
And if you avert your gaze or,
Yeah. It communicates something
it
to them.
comes from a fear or a discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it makes all the difference in the world for the people that we serve to feel connected to other people.
When I was a teacher of students with special needs, we did inclusion, a lot of inclusion, and people say, oh, well, that's just for that student. I said, no, that's for the whole classroom.
It's the school's benefit.
The students who don't have special needs will learn more by having someone with a student with a disability in their classroom, because what do they think their community is going to look like? If we curate these classrooms so you're only with gifted and talented, or you're only with your IQ age mates, that portrays to me the exact wrong sense of, we're looking after a kid's education, but we're in the full sense, like a holistic way.
Yeah.
And so having students with special needs in your classroom is good for everyone.
It forms their character. It informs their perspective on life.
Correct. It informs how they will greet someone experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
And that's to paint them with a broad brush. And, that's not really fair either.
Right.
95% of the people you pass by who have homelessness, you never know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
The one or two you would be able to maybe guess would be because of some outstanding other need they have.
Yeah.
Not just homelessness, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So.
Well, and it's just such a, if the problem is disconnection and fragmentation, then the solution is belonging and connection, right?
Isn't it always kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need the whole community to be a part of that. Businesses need to be a part of it.
Just like you gathered in that group? Yeah.
Yeah. Nonprofits, the municipal government needs to be a part of it. It just
police
has to, and police are essential.
Public safety for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone has a right to safety.
Yeah, that's right.
Full stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I love what you do. I love the farm. I love the mission. I love having you in our community and bringing all your gifts and your personal fortitude and peace. I know there was that contentious council meeting where people said some things that were just deeply hurtful.
Yeah.
Hard to hear. And I remember walking out and we were talking about...
We were the last ones to leave.
Yeah. And I said, it must be hard to hear those comments about people you know and love. And it was hard to hear.
Well, it comes from ignorance,
Yeah, but it's going. And so,
Yeah.
The prevailing opinion is you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Well, and thanks for your support. You have been a huge support for
My pleasure.
every step along the way where you could step in. I know that you were right along with us the whole way.
It's part of you can't be a kind and tolerant community only for some people.
Yeah, that's right.
That's an oxymoron.
It has to be for everyone.
And it's like the inclusion principle, right? That's how you also build strong, resilient communities, is when everyone's included, right?
Yeah.
And people say, well, if you build it, they'll come. And I'm like, okay, if someone's in need, we're happy to serve.
Yeah. We'll help resolve their homelessness, and they'll be better for it. We'll all be better for it.
Why would that be a bad thing?
Yeah.
As long, so.
Well, thanks for having this conversation, Jenny.
It's always a pleasure.
Really appreciate you.
You're a community gem, Seth. We appreciate you. I mean it sincerely. It's not just because of the camera. It's true.
Well, thank you.
I mean it. Yeah.